Sound of a lone cello note, sustained and melancholic, followed by the soft crackle of static. You think you're safe in your quiet little life? You think the walls of your reality are solid? Let me tell you a secret. They're not walls. They're soap bubbles, shimmering and thin, and every so often something pokes through. This is the story of a man who didn't just find a crack in his world. He invited the abyss in for a drink, and she was far more beautiful and terrifying than he could ever have imagined. Be careful what you wish for. Better yet, be careful who you wish with. Sound of a flickering fluorescent light and the gentle hum of a powerful computer. Dr. Aris Thorne didn't believe in magic. He believed in the elegant, brutal mathematics of the universe. His world was one of quantum foam and string theory, a reality he dissected on glowing screens in his sterile, white-walled laboratory deep beneath the city. He was a man who chased the ghost in the machine, the fundamental patterns that held existence together. But lately, existence felt empty. His pursuit of cosmic truth had left him isolated, a ghost in his own life, haunted by equations that offered no comfort. It was during one of these late-night descents into nihilism that he found it, tucked away in a dusty corner of an online auction for defunct scientific equipment. It was described as a fractal resonance chamber, a bizarre artifact of polished obsidian-like material that seemed to swallow the light around it. It was junk, a failed experiment from some forgotten genius. Aris bought it for a pittance, drawn to its impossible geometry. He told himself it was a conversation piece, a monument to failure. The chamber sat on his desk for a week, a black hole in his peripheral vision. It felt cold, unnaturally so, a void in the thermal landscape of his lab. One night, fueled by cheap whiskey and professional despair, he reached out and traced one of its illogical flowing lines. He just had a major funding proposal rejected. His life's work dismissed as esoteric and impractical. He felt a surge of bitter frustration. "I wish," he slurred to the empty room, to the silent black artifact. "I just wish I could see it." The real pattern, the truth behind all this. Noise. He expected nothing. A hangover, perhaps. What he got was a sound, a low thrum that vibrated not in his ears, but in the marrow of his bones. The obsidian chamber glowed, not with light, but with a deeper darkness. And from its core, a form began to coalesce. It wasn't smoke or light, but something else entirely. A being woven from shadow and starlight, from the impossible spaces between atoms. She unfolded herself into the room, and the air grew thick with the scent of ozone and distant alien blossoms. She was humanoid, but that was like calling a supernova a campfire. Her skin was the color of a twilight sky, a deep, shifting indigo that seemed to hold distant galaxies within it. Her hair flowed around her like liquid night defying gravity. Her eyes were twin singularities, blacker than black, yet they shimmered with a profound, ancient intelligence. She was naked, but the concept felt clinical, irrelevant. She was a living sculpture of desire, her form a perfect divine equation of curves and lines that made Aris's breath catch in his throat. His scientific mind, the one that cataloged and classified, simply shut down, overwhelmed by the sheer sensory data of her existence. "You called," she said, and her voice was a paradox. It was a melody played on shattering glass, a whisper that echoed like a shout. It resonated within his mind, bypassing his ears entirely. "You vibrated the substrate?" "You made a request," Aris stumbled back, his hand knocking a stack of research papers to the floor. "What? Who are you?" A slow, languid smile graced her lips, a curve that held both amusement and predation. "I have been called many things. Lilith, Amara, the echo in the void. My name is a concept you can't pronounce. You may call me Lyra." She glided toward him, her feet not quite touching the sterile tile floor. "You wish to see the pattern?" A simple request. But everything has a price. Every transaction requires an exchange of energy. "A genie?" Aris stammered, his mind grasping for any familiar framework, any myth to contain this impossibility. Lyra laughed, and the sound made the monitors in the lab flicker. "Your myths are charmingly primitive. A genie is a slave in a bottle. I am a traveler, a merchant. My kind, we feed on sensation. on desire, on the potent energy of immortal consciousness making a choice that reshapes its own reality. You call it a wish. I call it sustenance. She was close now. So close he could feel a strange coolness radiating from her skin. I am bound to grant 3 such transactions. The first is now pending. But be warned, physicist. To see the universe as I do is to lose the universe, you know. The pattern you seek will burn away the comfortable lies of your perception. Are you sure you want to pay that price? Heat flushed Eris's face. He was a scientist. The pursuit of knowledge was his religion. Show me, he said, his voice barely a whisper, but filled with a sudden, desperate conviction. This was it. The answer. The ultimate discovery. As you desire, Lyra purred. She reached out, her slender indigo fingers not quite touching his forehead. The price for this knowledge is your sense of wonder. And then his world shattered. It wasn't a vision. It was an unraveling. He saw it all. He saw the mathematical strings vibrating in 11 dimensions, the cosmic symphony of creation and destruction. He saw time not as a river, but as a frozen, crystalline structure, every moment existing at once. He saw the thoughts of humanity as a glowing, interconnected web of light, a chaotic, beautiful mess. He saw the noise he'd railed against was the music of existence itself, and he, in his arrogance, had been deaf to it. It was glorious. It was magnificent. And it was utterly, devastatingly meaningless. There was no ghost in the machine, no hidden purpose. There was only the pattern, beautiful, intricate, and cold. When his senses returned, he was on his knees, gasping for air, tears streaming down his face. Lyra watched him, her expression unreadable, a faint shimmer of light playing around her lips as she absorbed the raw, explosive energy of his shattered worldview. The world around him looked flat. The colors were muted. The thrill of discovery he'd chased his entire life was gone, replaced by the cold, hard certainty of the equation. He had seen the ultimate truth, and it had hollowed him out. The transaction is complete, Lyra said, her form seeming more solid, more vibrant than before. 1 wish fulfilled, 2 remain. Weeks turned into a month. Eris tried to work, but the fire in him was gone. His equations were just numbers now, echoes of a truth so vast it rendered them pointless. The universe was no longer a mystery to be solved, but a book he had already read. The only thing that felt real, the only thing that broke through the gray haze of his new perception, was Lyra. She hadn't left. She lingered in his lab, a silent, beautiful predator, observing him with her endless eyes. He found himself talking to her, not about science, but about humanity, about art, music, poetry, all the things he'd once dismissed as illogical noise. He tried to explain the human need for meaning, for love, for a purpose beyond the cold mechanics of reality. You seek patterns where there are none, she would say, her voice a silken thread in the silence of his lab. You invent purpose to hide from the beautiful, glorious chaos. It's not chaos, he argued one night, holding up a print of Van Gogh's Starry Night. This is order. It's emotion. It's taking the pain and the confusion and making something beautiful out of it. She drifted closer, examining the painting. The artist was mentally unstable. His optical nerves were likely inflamed, causing the coronas you interpret as emotion. The pattern is a symptom of a biological malfunction. You're wrong, Eris insisted, his voice cracking. There's more to it than that. You see everything, but you feel nothing. What's the point of it all if you can't feel it? Lyra turned her gaze from the painting to him, and for the first time, he saw something in those black hole eyes. Not curiosity, not pity. Something else. A void, a hunger. Feeling is a chaotic variable, inefficient, and yet, she tilted her head. The energy it produces, it's the most potent sustenance of all. A dangerous, desperate idea began to form in Eris's mind. He had seen the universe through her eyes. What if she could see it through his? What if he could make her feel? I have a second wish, he said, his heart hammering against his ribs. Lyra's smile returned, slow and sharp. I was wondering when you would tire of your gray world. I don't want to change the world, Aris said, stepping closer to her, into the strange, cool aura that surrounded her. "I want to change you. I wish for you to experience one human lifetime of emotion. All of it. The joy, the sorrow, the love, the rage. I want you to feel what it's like to be us." Lyra's smile faltered. For the first time, her composure seemed to crack. "That is an unorthodox request. The energy exchange would be immense, unpredictable. What's the price?" Eris pressed. Her gaze was intense, searching. "To grant this, I would have to create a direct neural link between us. I would have to anchor my consciousness to yours. The price, Eris Thorn, is your solitude. You will never be alone again, not in your thoughts, not in your dreams. And I will experience these feelings through the filter of your mind. I will be a passenger in your soul." The thought was terrifying. An eternal, uninvited guest in his own head. But the alternative, a life of gray, passionless certainty, was a living death. "Do it, as you desire," she whispered, and this time she did touch him. Her fingers pressed against his temples, and his world didn't just explode. It was reborn in fire and ice. He felt a billion years of cold, detached observation slam into his own consciousness, a vast, lonely existence of pure logic. And he felt her recoil as the chaotic, messy, beautiful torrent of his own life flooded into her. He felt her shock at the memory of his mother's lullaby, her confusion at the bitter sting of his first heartbreak, her terrifying, exhilarating intake of breath as she experienced, through him, the simple, profound joy of watching a sunrise. And he felt her. He felt the vast cosmic loneliness of her existence. He felt the constant, gnawing hunger for sensation that drove her. And he felt, with a clarity that brought him to his knees, the first flicker of something new within her. A terrifying, alien emotion taking root in the void she was feeling. And it was agony. And it was ecstasy. Their minds were one, a tangled, chaotic mess of human feeling and cosmic intellect. The lab around them warped and buckled, the very laws of physics groaning under the strain of their psychic union. Colors bled from the walls, sounds took on physical shape, and Eris clung to Lyra as the only fixed point in a universe that had gone completely, beautifully insane. Their connection was a constant, raging storm. For days, they barely moved, locked in their shared consciousness. Eris showed her the world through his eyes, no longer gray and muted, but saturated with the raw emotion she was now forced to process. They walked through the city, and he felt her terror at the crush of a million minds, a million conflicting desires. He took her to a concert, and he felt her awe as the music washed over them, a wave of pure, unadulterated joy that left her trembling. She, in turn, bled pieces of her own perception into his. He could see the energy auras around people, taste the subtle shifts in the quantum field when someone told a lie. Their shared existence was a symphony of sensory overload, a dangerous, addictive dance on the edge of madness. One evening, as they stood on the roof of his lab, watching the city lights glitter like a fallen constellation, she spoke into his mind, her new voice tinged with a vulnerability that was utterly alien to her. "This love," she transmitted, the thought laced with confusion and pain. "This human emotion, it is a flaw in your design. It creates an illogical attachment, a dependency. It makes you weak." "It's what makes us strong," Eris thought back, reaching for her hand. Her skin, once cool as the void, now held a faint warmth. "It's what gives the pattern a purpose." As their fingers intertwined, a jolt of pure energy arced between them. But this was different. It wasn't the chaotic clash of their initial merge. It was a resonance, a harmony. In that moment, he felt her burgeoning love for him, a vast, terrifying, cosmic love that was as powerful and untamed as a newborn star. And she felt his, a steady human flame that offered warmth against the cold eternity of her existence. The connection deepened, evolving from a forced psychic link into something more, something consensual, something beautiful. But their union did not go unnoticed. The fabric of reality was not meant to be woven this way. By anchoring herself to a mortal, Lyra had created a paradox, a wound in the universe. And the universe, like any living organism, had an immune system. They came without warning. They were not beings of matter, but of law. 3 of them, appearing as shimmering distortions in the air, figures of pure, unwavering order. The arbiters. The anomaly is located, the first one stated, its voice the sound of grinding tectonic plates, a convergence of dimensional substrates, a violation of the prime accord. The entity Lyra has bound itself to a low-level consciousness, the second arbiter intoned, its voice the cold chime of a crystal bell. The energy feedback loop is causing localized reality degradation. Lyra pushed Eris behind her, her form flickering, the starlight in her skin burning brighter. I have broken no law, she projected, her voice a weapon now. My transactions were consensual. You have become compromised, the third arbiter, a being of silent, crushing pressure, communicated. Your function is to observe, to transact, to feed, not to participate. The connection will be severed. The mortal's memory will be wiped. You will be unmade. No, Eris whispered, stepping forward. He could feel Lyra's terror, a new and paralyzing emotion for her, and it fueled a rage in him he'd never known. He had one wish left, one final transaction. He knew the price would be catastrophic. He looked at Lyra, his partner, his other half, and saw the universe in her eyes. Not the cold, dead pattern he'd once seen, but a new one they were creating together. My final wish, Eris declared, his voice ringing with impossible power drawn from their shared consciousness. I'm not wishing for you to save us. I'm not wishing for you to go away. I wish to break the foundation of your law. I wish for this bond, this violation to become a new reality. I wish to merge our existences, not just in mind, but in form. Let us become the new law, fool, the first arbiter boomed. The energy required for such a paradigm shift does not exist. To attempt it will unmake this entire sector of space-time. It will erase you! It will erase everything! The energy exists, Lyra said, her voice filled with a terrible, beautiful certainty as she took Eris's hand. She looked at him, and in that shared glance, 1,000 lifetimes of love and sorrow passed between them. He is not just a mortal. He is my anchor, and I am not just an echo. I am his universe. She turned her gaze to the arbiters. The price for this reality is our old one. As you desire, Eris whispered, and together they spoke the final words. The transaction is complete. The world did not end in fire. It ended in a silent, blinding wave of pure white potential. The arbiters dissolved into screams of pure mathematics. The lab, the city, the earth, the stars, they all unraveled, their patterns dissolving back into the cosmic foam. Eris and Lyra held on to each other, a single point of intention in the heart of the uncreation. He felt his body discorporate, his atoms scattering. He felt Lyra's true, infinite form embrace his fleeting consciousness. It was an agony beyond all measure, and a pleasure so profound it was indistinguishable from death. They were everything and nothing, a paradox, a violation, a new beginning. When reality recoalesced, it was different, familiar yet fundamentally changed. They stood in the lab, but it was no longer sterile and white. The walls shimmered with faint cosmic light, and the window looked out not on the city, but on a swirling nebula of impossible colors. They were still Eris and Lyra, but they were also one. He could feel her infinite knowledge as a quiet hum in the back of his mind. She could feel his human heart beating in her chest, a steady mortal rhythm that now governed her own vast existence. Their forms were fluid. He was still human, but starlight clung to his skin. She was still alien, but her eyes held the warmth of a human soul. They had not destroyed reality. They had overwritten it. They had become the new ghost in the machine, a living, breathing law of love in a universe that had previously only known order and chaos. They were free. They were together. And they were utterly, terrifyingly alone in a universe of their own making, the guardians of a fragile new existence born from a final impossible wish. The price had been everything they knew. But as they looked at each other, seeing their shared soul reflected in their eyes, they knew they had paid it gladly. Did you feel that? That little shiver down your spine? That's the echo of their choice, a ripple from their new reality bleeding into ours. It's a reminder that the universe is far stranger and far more passionate than we believe. If you hunger for more stories that tear down the walls of what's possible, that explore the dangerous intersection of love and cosmic horror, then subscribe to this channel. Join our community of reality benders. We have so many other whispers from the void to share with you. Click that bell icon and never miss a chance to question your own existence. Until next time, listen for the static. It might just be a new universe being born.